I'd like to call the Town of Orangetown Planning Board meeting for May 24, 2017 to order. Mr. Warren, will you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so if you're here for Eichelberger, the first name on the agenda, they've postponed. We'll not be hearing them tonight. So the next up is Kolb Subaru. Have a long agenda.
Sorry.
They're here for final site plan conditional use permit, PB number 17-24. Can you state your name and your affiliation with the project for the record, please?
Yes, Sarah Torrens, attorney with Donald Brenner, representing Kolb Subaru.
Do you have anything?
Oh, sorry.
Quick.
One more person.
Zach Cam, one of the site engineers. K-A-M-M.
Okay, you're gonna have to speak up and tell your name and your affiliation with the
Uh,
project again.
Zach Cam, K-A-M-M, and one of the site engineers.
Okay, so what's the story?
Do you guys want to give me the short narrative of where we've been, and why we're here, and, okay?
Very
So-
short.
Yes, very short. We're before you for final site plan approval. After we got preliminary from this board on January 25th, we got our requested variances approved by the zoning board on March 1st, and on April 20th, we were approved by Akabor. Go ahead.
Yeah, so those are basically everything. We've gotten comments back and we've addressed most of those comments. There's still a couple of agencies we've not received comments for, but we see any issues maybe being minor, and we think we'll be able to address any comments that might come forth.
Okay, that it? Did you review the comments packet?
Yes, yes, I do have that. So I will start with actually,
Oh, no, I'll start.
Oh, sorry.
And then you'll follow.
sorry, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So the PRC has no additional comments beyond the comments submitted by other agencies. From John Giardella on May 24th, he's got 4 comments. Okay. From Bruce Peters, 15. Mazer. Overall, the proposed stormwater management plan meets the intent of the regulations, and therefore we recommend that Kolb Subaru site plan be approved for drainage subject to the above project comments. There's 9. Rockland County Planning. There's 12.
York County Planning,
Yeah.
I mean, just,
Do I have to worry about parking?
well, all the 4 and 5, I mean, 4 can address.
Okay, so what do you want to do about 4? We talked about 4.
Yeah, we don't have any objection to it. We don't think the traffic study is necessary based on the previous comments we have. And based on the previous use, we don't see any greater than the 10% net increase in traffic coming to the site.
Were you over with that last time?
Yes.
Did the board overrode that last time?
Yeah, you just improved that whole.
What's
Yeah.
that?
The state just improved that whole.
We did.
Yeah.
Right, no, okay, 13,
Hold on, what about parking, number 6?
Mr. Brenner gave me a note saying that the zoning board approved it.
Approved what? 92 spaces or 87?
I thought they reduced it to 87. Wasn't that reduced to 87?
I don't remember the 87.
I thought they, yeah, and I think they reduced it.
We're gonna say you reduced it to 87, and if you didn't, you're gonna have to come back.
Yeah. Yeah, at the last meeting, they stated that they had reduced it to 87 spaces.
We got it covered.
And then 5,
Hold on.
I'll refer to John G. on this. The county's saying in 5 that
Yeah, that it's not permitted.
1310B6 prohibits outside commercial storage of 5 or more automobiles. They're saying proposed use seems to be in violation of this section. No discussion has been provided, but this is the one where we had the town board approved, basically, a change in the zone, so the county hasn't,
Caught up yet?
well, I wouldn't say well, but they didn't reference that, so I think, that one, there should be an override on, and probably, 4, because, but with respect to 4, statute says, if the judgment of the planning board, we must be prepared where proposed will result in an estimated trip generation, on 303, in which the increase in traffic in the judgment of the planning board would be, or is estimated to be in excess of 10% of the existing traffic movements for either peak hour or total daily traffic on 303 or county or town highways. And I think the last time they already, the planning board already made a determination on that. So I would address that and put that.
What I don't understand is, if we've already addressed it, why do they keep on putting it back in there? You know, I got somebody who's telling me about that we're trying to do everything we can to reduce shared services, and I got a planning board in Rockland County that keeps on putting down the same stuff that we've already overridden. You know, what's the deal?
Is that a rhetorical question?
Yeah, it's a rhetorical question. It's for anybody who's watching tonight. And I'm sure they all are. All right, next. Moving forward. Rockland County Health. Says that the plan is considerably different than the plan previously submitted. Could that be true? Mr. Magrino? John? I don't think so.
I don't understand the comment either.
I don't either.
Moving it or not?
I guess the previous plan didn't show stormwater. This one does.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. And also, you have to apply by the mosquito code. County Highway. Nothing. Sewer. Nothing. And then there's zoning stuff in here. I think that's all I got, right?
And Akabor.
And Akabor. Anything else, Cheryl? Okay. Mr. Young?
The height of the building, 22 feet? And what's going on with that property on the corner there, Jerko Incorporated? Is that going to stay there?
We're not sure what that property is doing. As of now, what we know that it probably is saying.
I think that's like a deli.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's like a quick stop deli kind of place.
Yeah, it's in the corner. It's a quick stop.
I understand, but it's I know,
Still open.
context with the whole property, you know? I'm sure Mr. Cole tried.
Yeah. Inky dinky
That's all I
do.
had, Mr. Chairman.
Inky dinky do. Mr. Dell?
No comments, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dell. Mr. Bond? Thank you, Mr. Bond. Mr. Warren?
No comments.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Mr. Sweeney?
Just quickly, John, no comments. We never do, they have to go to Akabor again to get signs approved? So can we give final even though they have to go back to Akabor?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure. For Hackabore, we can.
That's all, okay, that's all my question.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Mandel?
Just to follow up on his, as long as Akabor doesn't change the landscape plan that we're looking at now, I have no objection.
That's a fair point. Okay, you understand?
Yes.
Do we
Okay.
feel it's satisfied the conditional use permit?
You have to do that tonight.
Okay.
All right, so,
Chair will attach the conditional
first
use.
final, or conditional permit first? Rob?
Conditional use permit first.
Okay, so I need a vote for conditional, Mr. Young, second. Mr. Sweeney, all in favor? Aye. Second is final with conditions?
I just have one
Oh,
quick question.
sorry, shit, thank
What?
you, sorry. Sorry. That's bad, I'm
What
sorry.
did you want to say?
I gotta ask the public if they wanna talk about
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Is there anybody in the audience that wants to talk about this? Hearing none, sorry, I'm so sorry.
Motion to close.
I
public
forgot that we're on
portion.
TV too, that's bad, sorry.
Motion to close public portion.
Thank you, Mr. Mandel. Thank you, Mr. Warren. All in favor? Aye. Okay. So now we have the conditional use permit on. Now we need final with conditions.
Motion for final.
I just have one question before you go to that. Cheryl, I do remember that the board voted to override some of those county
Yes.
comments, but I don't see it in the decision.
You have a preliminary decision,
Yeah, is it in there?
you should have
Mhm.
the original package.
We could just do it again for good measure.
No, we'll do it again, but I don't see it in
I thought it was in
the
there.
Okay.
preliminary.
At the very end,
Yeah, should be.
they were overlooked because they can't.
Oh, yes, they were. Perfect.
So we have to do it again? I just don't want to do it because, just to make a point.
Just to be safe.
Okay,
So you have a motion for final?
yes, and now I'm going to read the conditions.
Yes.
Who made the motion?
I did.
John Giardello's 4. Bruce Peters, 15. Mazers, 9. Rockland County Planning, 1, 2, 3. Well, again, let's talk about 6, because it's even in all the paperwork that we agreed to 87, and so did they. So, okay, so I'm not putting,
So-
are we overriding 6,
No,
or
I
is 6 is
agree.
just a condition? Okay,
If it's gonna get approved with only 87 spaces,
right,
Right.
okay.
is that right?
I mean, we're hoping for the 92.
No, because then you better go back and check your records, because we have it in here that we told you 87,
And you agreed to it.
and you agreed to it.
That's fine.
I mean, unless you want to start all over again and come back, that's okay with us.
87 is fine.
That's what I thought.
And 5 will have to address.
I didn't put 5 in yet.
Right.
So, starting over again. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 12. Okay, so I need an override for number 4.
I'll make a motion over number 4. I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And that's because we already discussed this, and we felt that there was not an increase of 10%.
Right, last time we held that Erie Street and Route 303 intersection has been re-engineered and the existing 2 lanes and the amount of traffic on 303 is nowhere near 10%.
Correct.
So that's that one.
Okay, number 5, it has been addressed by the town board, the zoning issue.
I'm gonna take a motion, yeah.
Motion.
Mr. Mandel, Mr. Sweeney, second, all in favor? Aye.
Again, that's because the town granted a zone change, basically,
Yes,
project. I don't have the, actually, I do have the section. I'll put it in the decision, but the section of law that granted the.
okay, Rockland Health mosquito. And then, as a matter of record, the zoning board, and also Akabor, and their conditions. And,
Sorry, that section is 1310E6A. Actually, that's the exact section that they said, but without the A.
okay,
That was it.
is that it, Cheryl? Okay. Mr. Pond, seconds, all in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Chromalloy. Okay. State your name and your record, and your affiliation with the project for the record.
Okay, Ronald Panacucci, PE with Land Associates, the engineers for the applicant Chromoy. This is a subdivision, take about 12 and a half acres and 3.5 acres out of a total 16.8 acre site, leaving a strip of land along Blaisdell Road to go to the county. Got preliminary approval here back in March. There was a condition that we had to get a variance for a couple of percentage on the open space requirement from the zoning board, which we got on April 19th. We're back here for final, just to divide that property off.
Okay, thank you. The PRC has no additional comments. John Giorgella has no comments. Bruce Peters has no comments. Rockland County Planning has 2. Nope, hold on, Highway says nothing. And then the decision from the from the ZBA. That's it. That's all I have, Cheryl.
Yeah, one other item is to waive a requirement to go to the ACA board, since we're not proposing any construction or any, physical changes to the
Who
site.
wanted to go to Akabor? Who told you to go to Akabor, huh?
We can waive it, technically they're supposed to, but
Okay,
we can waive it.
there's nothing going on outside, so,
No.
And if they do, they have to come back.
okay, that's fine.
motion that the ACA board be waived, as there's no construction on the property.
Okay, so we'll get that out of the way. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now we're gonna ask if there's comments, right? Mr. Young?
No comments, Mr.
God, I missed one meeting, I can't remember anything. Go ahead, Mr. Dell, go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Dell, wonderful. Mr. Vaughn? Thank you, Mr. Ward. I'm lucky I remember everybody's name. Mr. Sweetie? Mr. Mandel? Okay, wonderful, look at that, makes it so easy. Okay, anybody in the audience wishes to speak about Chromalloy? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mandel makes the motion second, Mr. Sweetie seconds, all in favor? Aye. And I need a motion for final with.
conditions.
All right. Rockland County Planning's 2 conditions. That's it. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Bond. See, I told you, I missed one meeting. All in favor? Aye. Mr. Bond seconds. Put anybody down. Put anybody down.
Thank
Say
you.
that for the record. Okay, next up is Sycamore. Am I saying that right?
Yes, sir.
Not Sycamore, like Rockland Sycamore?
You can pronounce it that way if you like.
It's second last, because those buildings are closed.
I was just being funny. My son is like the master of the pun now. That's all he does.
Jacob?
Somebody, where's my Sycamore? Is this mine? I don't have it. Oh, I did. You gotta go on camera and tell Mr. Stewart that we're uncomfortable up here.
Come down here.
Yeah, that's what that's for.
I bet you if you disapprove this because we don't have a desk, goes back down there.
He said it, not me.
Brian, I just need the other gentleman.
Okay, so
Rob,
what are you guys here for?
Rob Foley.
Yeah,
Well,
to listen to it? Yeah. Okay, so come on up and sit in the front row so you can hear what they're saying. We don't bite, most of us. Okay, so Mr. Quinn, can you introduce everybody that's going to speak and have them tell us what their affiliation with the project is?
yes.
And you, starting with yourself?
Yes, Brian Quinn, attorney for the applicant, 67 North Main Street, New City, New York. To my right, to your left, is Rob Foley of Dewberry, outside engineer for the project. And to my left, your right, is Jake Raketier?
Rakitich,
Raketich, who is the,
lead architect with CH2M for the project.
Okay.
we have a few other people, but if their testimony is necessary, we'll introduce them at that point.
Okay, so what do we got here, Mr. Quinn?
This is the data center that is going to be constructed for J.P. Morgan Chase. The proposal is to purchase a 61-acre parcel that is presently owned by the town of Orangetown. The town of Orangetown, you may recall, 10 or 12 years ago, purchased it from the state of New York. It's part of the Rockland Psych property. It has remained undeveloped for several years. Many abandoned concrete buildings there. They will all be demolished as part of the proposed substation. Substation will be approximately 260,000 square feet, highly secure facility. It will have its own substation. It will involve removal of a number of existing easements on the site. All of the buildings, there will be a remediation of any hazardous substances at the site. Is that enough? I could go on if you like.
I'm reading while you're talking, but if you're done, I'll start.
Okay.
But I just want to know, I mean, John and Rob, there's a lot of comments here from John that, you know, like require stuff from Army Corps, things like that. I mean, we can't give them final, they have to get preliminary, and then they have to come back with all those answers, right?
Yes, we understand that. Actually, that comment
I'm
about
sorry,
the Army
there's
Corps,
one
I'd
more
like
here. I'm sorry, I thought
to
it said
discuss when we come around to it.
Okay, that's
all.
fine. Just, I want to make sure everybody knows that.
Also, at one point, there was a proposal to put the substation very close to Convent Road. John had a comment about it. County Planning also had a comment about it. That substation has now been moved away from Convent Road, so it won't be in a buffer, and no variance for the location of that substation will be required.
Okay.
It will be to the south of the site, far away from Convent Road. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that he had the plan up. That's the location for the substation.
So you could just get up and show it to us so that we can see.
Certainly. That nominally 200 by 200 area is essentially almost dead center on the 61 acres. And as Mr. Quinn mentioned, immediately south of the proposed data center facility. And where was Comet Road on that? Comet Road is
On the top.
northern boundary.
It used to be on the top right, like where it
So
was.
it's behind the data center.
Yeah.
Yeah, due south of the building. For orientation, First Avenue, Third Avenue, Comet Road.
Do they need to
And then the RPC campus, Oak Street at the very south
Right.
property.
Okay. All right, okay?
Yes, we still have to go to Akabor, the ZBA, to do performance standards. There is one minor variance that's required for the height of the security fence, and then we would be coming back to you for final.
Okay. So moving forward, the PRC has no additional comments. Mr. Giardella has 14. My suggestion is that before you come back here for final, that they're resolved, either amicably with Mr. Giardella, or you come back and you have a very good explanation as why, you know, we work it out with him, okay?
Most of them are fine. The substation, as I say, has been moved.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't need to go through them. I'm just letting you know that there's a lot of them and that they should be resolved.
With respect to the Army Corps, though, I just wanted to make sure that we're going to be good with the timing, because, you know, it takes a while to get the letter from the Army Corps.
We're not disturbing that area. It will remain fully unencumbered in the proposed development and suitably protected during construction. But what we're finding is Army Corps responses just for simple jurisdictional determination were potentially, it could be 6 months out. is
Okay,
what we're
well, the
finding.
deal is that if you show on the plans that you're not disturbing the area,
Yes, that's what we are
and
doing.
we have sent it to them, it's up to them to respond to within our general municipal law. If they want to wait 6 months, then that's on them, but they have to abide by, so because you're basically on the clock, and, you know, so we have to, we're not going to wait 6 months for Army Corps. And I mean, you as, and any applicant, not just you, I'm not, you know, I'm just saying that any applicant is on, once they come to us, we have a certain amount of time to say yes or no. So if Army Corps is spending a lot of time, then, you know,
Yes, we will delineate it and not go into the area.
It
And then-
has been delineated. by
Right, and
the
anything,
website.
if you do, it's a violation, so that's up
Right.
to you.
Sure, sure. Just for everyone's reference, it's this teardrop shaded area at the north of the property. It's a stream corridor, it's actually man-made. It's fed from an outfall, a head wall that will remain undisturbed from back behind what was the former Shogun Council area on the campus. And then eventually it ends up back in a pipe and then ultimately conveyed out through an outfall in the northern part of Government City campus.
Okay,
Very wet.
minor.
Yeah, it has no buffers associated with it. It's basically a riparian stream feature.
It actually works out better that you're moving the substation out, because you're getting it out of that general area.
In reality, where the substation was originally depicted on the plans, it was almost directly on top of what was that former children's hospital complex of 3 buildings. But that will just, those buildings will be taken down and that area will just be turned back to lawn.
Nice. Okay, Bruce Peters has 21. Now, these comments are available in the back. They're pretty much just technical. So if you want to read them, you're more than welcome to, but as a matter of record, we don't. We just make them available. There's 21 of them. Rockland County Department of Planning.
Let's go over that one. Actually, many of them are fine.
Okay, so which ones do you want me to go over?
Well, I think the big ones are the ones having to do with landscaping.
Before you get to that, what about number 5?
More than 20 generators are proposed as backup power for the site. Are the generator screens well sufficient to attenuate the noise from these generators? Does a noise study need to be completed? These issues must be addressed, particularly since the northern generators face a residential area.
Okay. You want to respond to that, or?
I can speak to that.
Yeah, it was prepared by CH2M.
Again, Jake Rakitich, lead architect with CH2M. The screen walls are not intended to perform acoustically. However, the generators have acoustic enclosures. By specification, they have to perform such that they'll be limited to 55 dBA at 23 feet away. Just for your benefit, 55 dBA is a little bit less than a lawnmower. So they'll be quite quiet. The screen walls are intended to screen them visually, again, not screen them acoustically.
Will they operate all the time together, or?
There will be times, for example, during power outages, but that's an emergency situation, okay?
What about testing them?
Testing occurs monthly, each generator. It's not intended that they'll all be running at the same time.
That's,
And that would be during business hours as well, when that
right,
testing.
okay, and the other thing is, so you're gonna have to go to ZBA for performance
Perfor-
standards?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and there is information that's been submitted as part of that application,
There are.
which confirms that it will be in compliance with the town.
Yeah, there was
noise-
analysis
noise
that
ordinance.
supported those, the town's performance.
I should have mentioned that. My apologies. We have performed on-site acoustic measurements of the existing conditions, and we've performed a simulated model predicting the acoustic levels around the building. And that's
Okay.
been made available to the ZBA.
Okay, so what else, Mr. Quinn? We're done with number 5. What else?
6, 7, 8, and 9 all have to do with the landscaping. And, well, actually, number 4 talks about the proposed substation, wanting some more,
Okay, well, number 4 is just pretty much waived because
We've
you moved
moved.
the, okay,
Exactly.
so we can override number 4 because of the thing.
exactly, if it needs to be. 6 is currently wooded with mature trees, proposing to plant new ones in the wooded area. It's not clear why the existing trees will be removed and new young trees planted in its place. The wooded area must remain and be supplemented with other landscaping as needed. So to the extent that the wooded area must remain, we do need an override on that, and I will let Jake explain why we are removing as many trees as we are, and it is a work in progress. I can anticipate some comments about trying to save some of those trees, and we will do what we can, but there is a security concern here with any data center.
There is, and I should mention, Mr. Foley's arborist has surveyed all of the trees on site. He can speak to them pretty specifically, but security is of paramount importance for a data center of this type. We certainly respect your wishes and desires about maintaining the existing woodland conditions. However, it's our position, we'd like to work with you and not have
trees that create situations where, for example, someone might Tarzan from a tree over the perimeter security fence. Also, there's sight lines from the building and security personnel, not only at the building itself, but at a gate that need to be maintained. Trees, despite the fact that they're mature and tall, they can encumber that security, and we really need to maintain that.
Okay. What else?
7, additional
Okay,
evergreen
well, we don't,
landscaping.
again, 7 is, yeah, they do, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna get to that, so don't worry about it, right. But also 7 is gonna be overridden because you're moving the substation anyway.
Right.
Go ahead.
8, additional landscaping must be provided around the
Okay,
generators.
again, they're gonna
help
go to
redu-
Akabor, so we're not gonna, we'll
Reduce
have,
the noise barrier, it won't help, and nor will it be needed to attenuate the sound.
and 9 too?
9, same
Okay.
thing.
What else?
I think we are good for everything else.
Okay. Rockland County Highway.
No
3.
issue- No issues.
Rockland County Health, mosquito code and sanitary code.
We can live with that.
Rockland County Sewer, nothing. Rockland County Agency,
Drainage agency.
drainage, sorry.
All good with those?
We are good with those.
Okay, so the drainage has 4. I'm not there yet. Michael Bettman has 9.
And then there is an additional one that he added afterwards. It was in the form
About the
of
generator, so we'll call that number 10.
an email. Well, there was a request
Command center.
for a command center in the lobby, and,
This is for the firemen?
Yeah.
Yes, there's a fire alarm control planned for the lobby.
Before the who? Oh, for the lobby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right inside the front door.
so we can accommodate that
We can
as well, too.
accommodate that.
Okay, I need Brooker's, is this it? Here, I got it. Okay, so Brooker, recommend that the project Sycamore Data Center site plan be approved for drainage subject to the above project comments, and there's 13. Right? No problems.
And we're good with that?
And we've reviewed the letter and no issues.
Okay.
They can be accommodated.
Okay. Mr. Young?
Back to the generators, natural gas,
No, sir.
USD,
Diesel, number 2 diesel fuel.
tanks above ground, below ground.
Above ground belly tanks, individual. There is still under consideration whether or not there'll be a shared tank tying all of them together. It's proving to be costly, so it's not for sure that we're have there or not.
Size of the generators, what are
I believe they're 2.5 megawatts each.
they? Substation, O&R installing that, or?
It will be, I believe discussions are still ongoing with ONR. It will be designed to ONR standards. In all likelihood, for expediency, our client will construct it based on ONR design approval. And I believe it gets turned over to ONR for the, basically maintenance and operation.
Right, but the design has not begun
The
yet.
design has not begun. There's still some determination of various pieces of equipment, whether it's smaller, as the facility grows and the electrical power to feed it increases, versus installing various things day one.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Mr. Dell?
Yes, I think it's a wonderful project. I'm glad that whole area is going to be cleaned up. I particularly appreciate the fact that you're going to be moving the substation, but I still have a substantial concern with how you're handling the trees along Convent Road. It's primarily almost a campus-type situation, except for that area. Now, I'm not asking you to breach any of your security rules, but I've had some experience in these areas. I understand what you're saying, but there's also a series of solutions which would be quite simple. One of them is you could have your fence, move it further away from the trees. You could establish a definite tree line, have approximately 20 feet clear to the fence. By the way, how tall is the fence you're talking about?
8 feet, right?
8 feet.
8-foot security
8-foot
fence.
security fence.
8-foot security. Okay. I don't know precisely what type of sensors, et cetera, you're going to put in there, but since you're moving the substation, I think you now have reason to back the fence away, and by backing the fence away, you could save that entire verge of trees. Now, we all know that nothing is going to be able to sneak through those trees if you have approximately 20 feet clear of fencing before you get to it. And this will cost you less money in terms of fencing. But right now, I think that's a little unfair to the neighbors when all you have to do is just move your fence back.
Had a comment?
Your points are well taken, sir, and I believe we can achieve an amicable solution that respects.
If you can, then you will have my total support. But I think you should have no trouble having between 30 and 50 feet of woods, then clear cut them on the back like they do for utility line, another 20, 30 feet if you need clear, and then have your fence, and I think everyone will be happy.
Do we understand the extent from Convent Road south, what we're trying to maintain? I'm just asking because I'm not sure. Rob, do you know?
Okay, now, by the way, this is one member's opinion,
Understood, sir.
Understood.
okay? So I'm not
Understood.
speaking on behalf of the board.
Yeah, understood. I can offer that there was a full tree inventory of the entire 61 acres that was submitted to Akabar. We're expecting some comments from them. We also, following our tree inventory being completed by a landscape architect professional, as well as our survey crew picking up all those points, we have an arborist engaged that has looked at that area, and we are, formulating a specific solution, kind of point to in advance of, comments such as this, because we do recognize that it is it's a very thick area,
Right.
a little bit different character than what you see on the balance of the site, to try to come up with an ultimate best solution.
Well,
If I'm-
all you'd have to do, as I said, is just leave that area intact, pull your fence away, have your clearing.
Well, you have to understand also, I mean, I don't want to, but we don't know what their security codes are.
Well,
what
they
their
could
requirements are for the
also-
fence to the building.
Give us that, but I believe my understanding is if you have 20 to 30 feet from the fence, you'll have more than enough room to do what you want to do, particularly since you have an 8-foot high security fence.
I believe you're correct in that. And just so I can understand you in terms of performance, sir, you're suggesting, or rather requesting, that we maintain as much of the existing trees in that area as possible?
That's correct.
Not necessarily any certain depth to perform a screening function to the residences. You just want to maintain what's there. Is that true?
Basically, yes.
Okay,
Then
thank
you
you.
wouldn't have to do any of the planting on the other side either.
Okay.
And we're speaking outside the perimeter of the security fence.
If you move it.
That's correct.
And
Just
I
pull
can
your
offer
security
in
fence in.
general that highly technical term, Tarzaning over the fence. But I
Can't
think everybody
happen.
understands, there are some fairly substantial trees in there. I think the buffer to the fence line, may have to be something on the order of closer to 50 feet as opposed to
Well, whatever you have to
20.
do, but you have plenty of room to move your fence back.
Actually, we start to get a little close to the regulated area there.
All right, well, take a look at it, and I'm sure you have your professionals. I know you have your specific requirements, but as I said, I have a little background in this, but I think something could be done to make this blend in with the neighborhood, which I don't think is something that you'd be opposed to.
No, that is,
All right,
And remember also, though, that the area where the drainage ditch is, where the wetlands are, that's going to be left alone as well.
that's right. Well, my thing is just leave a little bit more alone and move your fence back. But you take a look at it.
certainly.
Thank you. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Dell. Mr. Bond?
No, I think it's about time this building came
Yeah,
down,
I do
so
too.
I'm on board, so.
Mr. Warren?
No, I'm fine with everything right now, thank you.
I'm just happy this project is moving forward. I'm Glad you're looking into the tree issue. I'm glad you're willing to consider it. Interested to hear what Akabor has to say, and I'm seeing you back here afterwards.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Mandel?
Yes, a few questions. Just to clarify, in the application, the impact on the air, page 4, B, item B, it says generate 10 tons a year of hazardous pollutants, either CO2 and N2O, nitrous oxide and carbon dioxide. What is the source of the emissions?
The
That is,
diesel generator.
diesel generators
Okay.
that would be limited by air permit to 100 hours of operation per year.
Is that just going to be released right into the air, or is it going to be filtered, or?
There, I mean,
It's.
No, it's a
yeah,
regular
it's
diesel
appropriate,
generator.
it's a standby emergency engine generator, so the appropriate technology for the operating permit that would be obtained for the units.
Right, and those generators, they're enclosed, you said before?
Yes, sir, they have acoustic enclosures around the engine and radiators, the whole thing. It looks like a clean white box or whatever
Big
color we
metal box.
choose.
Right. Now, you mentioned before they're going to be diesel, so it'll be diesel fuel, but you're not sure if the tank's going to be per generator or a large tank that you're going to,
No, we are sure there'll be one at each generator. It will
Whether
be a
they
belly tank.
manifolded
Oh,
to
okay.
connect them in between.
All right.
There's an option considering at each generator yard to have a central tank so that all of the generators can be tied together from one fuel
The
system.
first time you're gonna need to get a diesel truck in there because you're running out of diesel is when you're gonna be coming back and saying, oh, by the way, we're putting in a bigger day tank outside. So I'm just letting you know. First time. You'll see.
what measures do you have to prevent, if there's a spill, to contain the spill?
There would be a fully code compliant spill prevention and
Containment.
containment plan for the facility in operation.
With belly tanks.
They're belly
All right.
tanks, they're enclosed.
All right, that's what I want to know from you.
Even so, there still would be an SPCCC that would be
Okay,
in
that's
place, just because,
wonderful.
this is a mission-critical facility, so frankly, everything is belt and suspended.
Okay.
All right, on your EAF, page 6, D2G, you wrote TBD to be determined, tons per year of hazardous air pollutants, HAPs. What are these pollutants and where would they be released from?
It would just be generator exhaust, and it would be regulatory compliant for typical diesel engine emissions.
What pollutants are they going to be, the HAPs?
Specifically nitrous oxide and and then there's a couple of other ones, that mainly NOx, and there's 307 tons per year of a couple of other elements as well.
Yeah, what are the other elements?
I would have to frankly pull up the
Okay, what was the-
catalog cut. for
Okay, what was the first one you mentioned?
Nitrous oxide.
Okay, it was nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide you mentioned before. But what are
Carbon
the,
dioxide. Anything from the diesel, is that what you're talking about?
It's all
Diesel,
from
diesel,
just
diesel?
diesel emissions exhaust.
Sulfur.
Sulfur, if it's all low sulfur fuel now, so that's, carbon monoxide, carbon
Yeah, I could answer the
dioxide.
question, I just don't have that engine catalog cut in front of me.
okay, yeah, when you come for final,
Same as any diesel engine.
Any
Yeah.
diesel engine.
right,
same.
because you list HAPs there and you don't state
Yeah,
what it was.
there's two elements that were not specifically listed on the EAF, and hence that's why there's.
Yeah, when you come back
under
for
the HAPs.
final, I appreciate if you have those in there.
Actually, I think you may have an earlier version of it, Mr. Mandel. We do have a more recent one that was done.
Bottom of page 6.
Bottom of page 6, G. Amounts have now been filled in.
Oh, okay, I have a prior one,
Our fault, sorry.
okay. You know, John had asked for that, okay, all right.
And we can provide the specific manufacturer documentation on the engine as well. As I
Okay.
said, I don't remember
All right.
what that number at the bottom is.
Yeah, I
to
just
those two
appreciate it,
elements.
just, for the record and that, so, thank you. Now, you stated that also in the EAF, page 6, unless it's changed, E3, you state that via the checkbox, the stormwater runoff flow to adjacent properties. Which properties are those that it's going to flow to?
I'll just show it on the map.
Yeah.
We've done some fairly extensive stormwater modeling. High gradient in the vicinity is to the east,
Right.
obviously low Lake Japan
Yeah, right.
to the west. And what's happening is water comes through the golf course as well as other portions of the RPC campus on the west side and effectively run through the site. We'll be collecting that in various cutoffs at our property line, and in a couple of locations, bringing that water through and bypassing it, and then tying things together with the outfall from our detention basin, and had it modeled where everything is at same or existing flows as they head to basically the 3 outfalls on the campus that go through the wooded area between the RPC campus and the lake.
Okay, is that, does one of them go through the drainage they put in by the children's psychiatric? Along the fence line, there's a rocks drainage thing that the state put in about a year or 2 ago.
We didn't look at that specifically. This was a fairly high-level modeling.
Okay.
We're dealing with probably, altogether what's coming off from the east, probably 100 acres of additional drainage from off our site that we're wrapping around and through.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, frankly, it was a little bit of a short answer to a
Yeah.
very complicated solution.
Okay. Now, the water that's used by the project, by the data processing center, you say that most of it's evaporated, I think, from your presentation before the town board.
Correct.
20% is wind up left over. Is that going to go into the drainage system, or would you
It
be?
would be discharged via sanitary sewer. That
Okay.
20% of the water that is not evaporated.
Is that?
Okay, hold on, I want to, before you, this is my expertise now. What are we talking about here? Are we talking about evaporative cooling?
It's pumped refrigerant cooling to rooftop condensing units.
What's pumped? The
refrigerant-
water?
The refrigerant, but water is used as part of it to maintain humidity and deal with the
Like a
cooling.
misting system for humidity
So it is
control.
evaporative, yes.
There is, and that humidity control obviously is evaporative, though a small portion is discharged through the sanitary sewer.
Okay.
IDEC technology, right?
Who's the engineer?
The mechanical engineer,
Yeah.
he's not here today.
Okay. Because I want to make sure that before we start saying that 20% of it's going to go down the drain, I want to know what exactly it is that you're, because I don't think it's that much. If you're talking about evaporative cooling, it's a makeup. You use 80% of what's in there, and then 20% of it stays, and is used, and then that's used, and then more of it's moved. So it's almost de minimis what goes down the drain,
That is correct, sir.
okay? So let's not,
No, that was.
okay, I want to make sure if people are listening to this, that they, whatever the refrigeration system is, just have your MEP come here the next time and talk about it, because it's, if it's an evaporative cooling system, 20% of it going down the drain, it's a constant makeup, so none of it should be going down the drain, except what's going up into the atmosphere.
That is
That's the 20%. The 20% is going and released to the atmosphere, not down the drain.
Oh, no,
Okay,
I'm
so
just going on
that's-
what they stated at the town
Okay.
board presentation.
I just want to make sure
I
that
didn't
we're
make it
clear
up.
about that,
It's their statements, and I'm asking for clarification.
and that's why I'm here.
Mr. Chairman. Okay, so.
I'll make sure he's here next time.
Yeah, so let's find out. I mean, it doesn't make any sense that we're dumping 20% of the coolant down the drain.
For next time?
Anybody else? Where's Mr. Brennan?
I have some more questions.
I know, I didn't say anything.
Talking about, now your rainwater runoff from your roof and everything that's going to be discharged, have you thought about using any of it as for irrigation for your landscape system?
We are currently assessing the principles behind the LEAD program, and while submission for formal recognition by USGBC has not necessarily been decided by the customer, we intend to pursue those principles, and gray water irrigation is certainly one of them.
Yes, because it is a scarce quantity up here, and we've had a big war with Suez, and sewer's rates are quite high. It would save you money, it would save the county water, and you wouldn't have to go for a fight again on desalinization plant, which would raise everybody's rates dramatically, so it would be beneficial to both of us.
Okay.
The pump station, what's the fuel type, or what are you going to be using there? Is that electric?
That's just for sanitary sewer. because
Right,
we're down
yeah.
gradient. It would just be electric pumps, and there would be a small diesel backup generator associated with that.
Okay, diesel backup. And regarding what Mr. Dell said earlier, I concur with him, so it's also my opinion about saving as many trees as possible. That wetlands area, now you need the Army Corps, but you stated you would not disturb any of the grounds within that wetland area. That means the trees and everything that are in there will not
Correct,
be
and
touched.
it's not a wetland, actually, it's a riparian stream corridor. so
Right.
It has no buffer associated with it, but we will not disturb it. Our SWIP plan that is upcoming and will be submitted for engineering review specifically has a limit of disturbance and a construction fence line well outside the boundaries of the delineated area.
Okay, yeah, because that appears to be the thickest forested area on
And
the
there's some
piece of
very
property.
steep slopes down to
Right.
that channel.
Okay,
So, no, we will not be disturbing that.
Right.
We'll be
It's a-
mitigating measures to
right,
protect it.
thank you for your answers, great project. Best of luck with it, thank you.
Thank you.
All done? Yep. Thank you. Okay, so is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak to this project? You come up to the microphone. We give 3 minutes. Okay, doesn't start. until
My
you
name
give
is-
your name and your address.
My name is
And-
Bob Murray. I live at 376 Convent Road,
Just spell your last name.
Murray.
Thank you. Go ahead, Bob.
And I live at 376 Convent Road in Blauvelt, so I'm at the light that's directly across from this proposed plan. And so obviously my number one concern is the safety, and some of this, by the way, might be addressed in these comments, which I haven't seen, but like comments about asbestos air quality during the demolition process, because I know that we've been in this home since 2000, so there have been a number of plans that have come up and fallen through, and the concerns have always been remediation of the asbestos and its impact on the local environment. We live right across the street, so I have concern about that.
Okay. Can
I have other concerns. You want me to list them all? And
Yeah, then we'll
okay.
go, if we
The
can, we'll
other,
address
it would, the traffic light there on Convent has some weird timing issues, and traffic builds up on Convent. We've seen a number of, an increase in speeding. We've seen a lot of increase in the traffic flow since Sandy, actually. That light got messed up during Sandy. And so my concern is also with the number of parking spaces and the number of employees who'd be using that entrance, if that's the entrance that's going to be used, or is the other entrance by the golf course going to be modified for that purpose as well? Because then lots of cars build up in front of our house, and I'm curious about whether more will start to build up. So that's one issue. The other would be, and now you've talked about noise, I do have a concern about the noise. It may sound like a low decibel amount to say it's lower than a lawnmower, but a lawnmower is pretty loud depending on the time of day. And if there are several of them going at one time, I also have a concern about that. I'm glad to hear the substation was moved away, because that would be basically directly across from our house. And I just want to thank the members of this panel who have defended the trees, which would keep us feeling like a neighborhood and less like we're in an industrial park. So, thank you.
Okay. Well, I don't want to speak for the applicant, but I'll tell you what I know about the asbestos. So when you go through the abatement process, they have to, whether it's inside or outside, they still have to provide air quality sampling. So all of that has to be within a certain code, federal code and state code. I'm not sure what the local code is.
Department of Labor.
So the Department of Labor, right. All of those tests are available to the public once they're filed. And they can't move forward until they are remediated. So whatever it is that they're doing has to meet standards before they get to the next step. So that part I can tell you. The light is, I don't know if that's a county road.
Yes.
So that would be the person, that's who we should reach out to as far as the light.
And did this come up during your presentation in terms of what your plans are for the circulation there?
I mean, I can offer that.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, and primary entrance will be from Third Avenue.
Rob, yeah, stand over there so you can see.
However, the one thing, while this is a rather large building, very few people work in it. Any given 8-hour time frame, maybe 25 people at any
Max,
given time.
maximum.
The reason the parking lot is the 87 spaces it is this is a 24/7, 365 operation, so obviously there'll be 25 people coming in to replace those 25 people leaving at the end of that 8 hours. So that's the reason to allow for some overlap, from people coming in before people leave, as well as, potential visitors and outside contractors. But for a full build-out at the 260,000 square feet, it would still be that same 25 employees. So really very, very few trips in and out. Essentially, it just blends into the background traffic already present on the RPC campus.
I could speak to the noise concern one more time. You're right, a lawnmower isn't that quiet, but generators have to be tested once a month. We're limited to 100 hours per year of operation. There are a number of generators, but they will not be operating unless there's a power outage. So on any given day, there won't be anything running. And again, we've conducted existing condition surveys. At nighttime, literally, I don't know if you saw us, we set up a sound meter pretty much right across the street from where you said you live. The average nighttime decibel reading was 48. So we're going to be 53 decibels 23 feet away from the generator, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 feet away from the road.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The hours of operation for exercising the generators will be done strictly during the daytime hours?
That is correct, sir.
Yes.
No, I'm not saying.
Yeah.
One other point on traffic that I failed to mention in my long-winded answer. The primary route in and out of here, both employees and obviously any deliveries, which would be infrequent, other than the normal UPS, FedEx type of, small trucks, would be from Best Memorial and Orangeburg Road to the south. I mean, that's where the direct connection to Palisades and more major roadways are. Convent essentially, well, it's County Road, pretty much just, ties into other local streets in Orangetown proper.
Just one thing with your hazardous materials you're worried about, because there's asbestos in there. And the buildings I've had, where we've had asbestos abatement, they just don't come in and just knock the building down.
Yeah.
They have to seal the area off first. Everybody that goes into there has hazmat suits on. Every bit of asbestos that they remove, and they usually wet it down to make sure there's no dust in the air, that's all bagged up. And it's a double entrance, so people come in, then they're in a little sealed off area, then they go through a second sealed. So you're not gonna find that floating around the air. They have to comply with the current laws, plus if in most times, any employee who feels they're not doing will contact OSHA, and they'll come in, they'll close them down. So when asbestos removal, I wouldn't worry about anything like that in the air around there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. And that's the same thing with the monitoring. And they have to have a third-party monitor. They're not allowed to monitor it themselves to say, oh, look what we did. They have to hire an independent monitor to come in and perform the test samples. So, and that's just to get away with, to make sure it's all on the up and up. Okay?
Thank you.
Anybody else wishes to speak to this? Come on up, please. State your name and your address, please.
My name is Jack Mittard. I live at 220 Convent Road.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Mitard. About 2 weeks ago, I was walking through the campus, and I met with some of the engineers. And we were discussing that the data center that's being constructed. And I asked them about the steam tunnels that run underneath. And I asked them what they were going to do to clean them up. They said they were going to bury them. They weren't going to remove the asbestos. I was concerned. I came in a little bit late. I don't know if I missed anything, but to bury the asbestos, I don't think is a good idea. I was hoping that would be removed. We're in a neighborhood, a family neighborhood. We don't want to release carcinogens in the air. If anything gets disturbed during construction, water going through it, if it's not sealed correctly. Major concern to have the steam tunnels just buried without removing the asbestos.
Okay. Okay, hold on. You need to state your name and your affiliation for the record. And then when you're done, you can sign in too, please.
Sure. Ed Hesselbacher, project manager with Colliers International. Yeah, sure. It's HESSELBACHER.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure who said that, but that's not our plan. We are going to fully abate the tunnels before we demolish them.
Yeah, I've been involved in some hazardous materials removals of similar facilities, and there is obviously, as has been for the previous questions, a very specific protocol that's required by state and federal regulations. The workers doing that removal, OSHA gets involved in governing what they can be exposed to and what personal protection they're required. But where I'm getting at ultimately is the hazardous materials that are removed from buildings such as this for demolition. There's a very specific chain of custody with documentation that has to be followed for where that hazardous material, from the point that it leaves the site to the truck it's on, ultimately to the disposal facility where it ultimately is taken to. Tickets at each one of those points that have signatures taking responsibility for it until its ultimate disposal. And that is absolutely the intent for what will happen for removals on this property.
That's understood, but the gentleman was more concerned about the lines themselves being abated and not abandoned in place. So I think
Below grade, it's my understanding from discussions with the construction manager, there's a number of below-grade tunnels connecting buildings on this property. Those will have to be removed. It's essentially a complete demo, even to the footings or the floor or below grade or below floor of those tunnels and any other associated utilities.
That's wonderful.
That are there. I mean, that's stuff that we can't have it under the building. It's undocumented condition. You can't have something hidden down there in 5 years from now after the building's in operation, have it not be structurally sound and collapse and have a problem under the floor of your data center that you've just spent millions and millions of dollars to construct.
wonderful. Okay? Okay, next. This is it. If you have something to say. Okay, I need a motion to close the public. Mr. Mandel makes the motion, Mr. Bond seconds, all in favor? Aye. Okay, so, I need a whoa.
I'm sorry.
Come on up, you can hear what we have to say. You don't have to sit all the way back, you can sit up front.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, you're fine, okay. I can't hear you. So what's up, Mr. Magrino?
I would just reiterate, the town board has already issued a negative declaration.
Oh, and they already, are they the lead agency too?
Well, with respect to the zone change. So my recommendation would be for you to reaffirm the previously issued negative declaration.
Okay.
If you're so inclined.
Are we so inclined? Okay, Mr. Bond just made us so inclined. Mr. Sweeney seconds, all in favor? Aye. Okay, to reaffirm the negative deck. What about lead agency?
Well, they were really the lead agency.
So we don't need to, that's what I wanted to know. Okay, so I need,
Didn't we circulate for lead agency?
I did, but I don't want to do to get into a question of whether it's the second for review. So, they're basically reaffirming, the previously issued negative declaration that
that's a town board issue.
if you want to, for purposes of site plan, say you're the lead agency for purposes of site plan, why don't you do that?
Okay, so I need a motion for purposes of site plan as lead agency. Mr. Bond makes the motion, Mr. Mandel seconds, all in favor? Aye. And now I need a motion,
Preliminary with conditions.
Mr. Warren makes the motion for preliminary with conditions. Mr. John Giardella, 14. So, Mr. John Giardella's 12, eliminating number 4 and number 14. Oh, wait. So we didn't see the environmental impact statement, the new one, so, but he's solved everything that said TBD is all solved now? Okay. You're okay with that, Mr. Mandel?
I'm fine with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's one item on refuse, again, for the office component of the facility, 25 employees per shift, you know, a minor amount of lunches and coffee cups.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that the next time you come here, make sure you have the most up-to-date EIF. That's not me.
That's what John showed me,
Okay, so that all of us can look at it, okay? Rockland County Planning. I'm sorry, did I miss that? Mr. Peters has
21.
21. Rockland County Planning, 19. Which one am I overriding? 4. Okay, so 4. Okay, so we're gonna, for number 4 and number 7, I need an override.
I make a motion to override on.
Number 4 and 7, we're doing them together.
Planning 4 and 7.
Okay,
Number 4 first.
oh, we can't do them together because they're
Yeah,
tied.
it's 2 different issues.
Okay, fine.
Number 4.
So 4, Mr. Warren first, Mr. Sweeney second, and that's because they moved, they relocated the substation. I need a motion for,
You want to vote on that first?
I said, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 5.
No, 7.
Well,
Well,
we're not
I'm
gonna,
going to address 5.
that's right, I know what I'm doing here.
You know, at least for Cheryl's dedication in terms of it, is the board requiring a noise study?
The board is not requiring a noise study, so I need a motion. Okay, it's a question, so I'm not gonna override it. So for clarification, the board is satisfied with the applicant's responses. However, they still need to go to the ZBA for performance standards. Okay?
Right, so I would leave it in and.
That's what I'm saying, right, okay. Wait a minute.
6, 7, 8, 9.
No, let's do 6 first, okay? I think that the applicant is going to, based on a couple members of the board's recommendation, is going to look at the trees and come back with a plan that tries to satisfy.
Why would we leave that in?
We are.
Okay.
But I'm not, no, because it says the wooded area must remain. I mean, we're not gonna tell them that right now. I mean, we're gonna say that they have to come back with the plan that's, that's best resolves or answers some of the board's concerns about the trees.
But it also says it is not clear as to why the existing trees will be removed. That I don't understand.
Well, it does say the area, so do you want to override, and the reason being that they are going to.
Okay, so I need a motion to override number 6. Mr. Sweeney, second.
I'll second that.
Mr. Warren, second. All in favor?
Aye.
And that is because you're saying no?
No, I
Oh,
said
I
aye.
hear you. But we are,
You're overriding because the applicant explained the security reasons
Yes.
why they can't keep certain.
Wait a minute, the applicant agreed to restudy.
I was going to say that, Mr. Dell, so, yeah, but the applicant has agreed to restudy the issue and come back to us with a plan that will try to resolve and satisfy the board members.
And their security.
And their
aspects.
security, thank you, Mr. Warren.
And balanced, right.
Okay, number 6, 7, I need an override, motion to override.
Motion to override.
Mr. Mandel makes the motion, Mr. Bond seconds, all in favor? Aye, because they moved the substation.
Correct.
Number 8, I need a motion to override number 8. Mr. Sweeney makes a motion, Mr. Bond seconds, all in favor? Aye, because we're not asking them to provide noise attenuation with plants around the generators. They have to go to the ZBA for performance standards, and that should satisfy the noise attenuation. They've also indicated that they've done noise studies with the neighbors, that all of the generators will not be running at the same time unless there's an emergency power outage, but for the most part, that should be few and far between.
And that they will be exercised during daylight hours.
And that the generators will be exercised during daylight hours. Thank you, Mr. Warren, again. And I need a motion to override number 9. Mr. Bond makes the motion. Mr. Sweeney seconds. All in favor? Aye. And that is because we are sending them to Akabor, and Akabor will make the determination about landscaping.
Well, you want to just leave that in? I mean,
No,
Yeah.
I don't want to leave it in. No. They don't, they want to, if they want to share services and they want to be the planning board for Orangetown, they can come down anytime.
all right, so
But-
you're satisfied with the landscaping as proposed?
We don't have a,
We don't
we
have.
don't have a
We
landscaping
want to see
plan.
what Akabor, they have to go to Akabor.
Get that approved,
Right.
whatever it is.
Then based upon what the Akabor supplies us, we'll review it and determine if we want to keep it or change
And
it.
we'll make the changes to it.
Right.
Thank you. Rockland County Highway has 3. No, they're part of the, it'll be in. Rockland County Health, 2.
Highway, did highway?
I did highway. Do you want me to do it again?
I didn't hear you say it, Ron.
Did I get to highway? Hold on, I don't know if I got there yet. I did.
I think before that. Oh.
Okay. Rockland County Drainage has 3 comments, 4 comments? Because Rockland County Sewer is a nada.
No, I know.
No, I don't do it. I'm not doing it anymore, it's a waste of time. Michael Bettman has 10.
The only thing I'll say, just with respect to drainage agency, they're asking that these comments be taken care of before final.
You want all the other comments from Rockland County Drainage?
Yeah.
There are other extensive comments.
Where? On,
They
in the,
say they're out of district, right? And then they go on to proceed to ask for all this other information.
Outside the jurisdiction.
Yeah. it's
Outside the jurisdiction.
but they
It's outside
proceed
the
on.
well, they're saying pursuant to secret, they're asking for
Right.
the following information be submitted.
Do you want that in the decision?
Well, I would leave it in for now, and then if they have a problem with it, that's fine, we can address it. 'Cause it's the same thing that Bruce Peters addressed, and
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Michael Bettman has 10. Oh, I'm sorry, and the command center is 11? Say that again? No, 10 because, well, also if you see the generator question underneath 9 is actually, okay?
That's the number 10.
So that's the 10. So you'll have to provide that information to Mr. Bettman, please. And then correspondence from Rock County Highway. Thank you. Oh, wait, we'll do Brooker. 13 for Brooker. And then correspondence from Highway, Department of Health, and ZBA not objecting to us serving as lead agency. So I need a second for preliminary. Mr. Young seconds, all in favor? Aye. Okay, that's it. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question? You had mentioned like we could see the comments. Is there? We're on the table? Thank you.
Okay. I don't know, are these guys all here for? Are you guys all here for the,
Yeah.
everybody in the back that walked in late? Hello? Are you guys all here for this or for the cell tower? Okay. Okay. Thank you. I just want to make sure, because we're about to go to the next one. It's a good thing we approved it. They want to. I think that they all want for that. I think that they're all like engineers. Oh. Oh. Yeah, I know what it is. I'm surprised that they didn't say anything. Guess we answered all their questions. Okay. Cheryl. Stella. I could have been a contender.
Hey, Rob, didn't they pass this at the town board last night?
Hey, I'm missing my son's chorus thing today. I just want you to know.
Veterans Housing?
50s. Actually, my son was invited to sing with the high school chorus tonight, and I'm missing it.
Yeah, they passed it. No, they had a public hearing.
Yep, that's the end of his elementary school. Yeah, you see, Bill,
Yeah, they decided they
your,
were gonna vote.
yours are all
Murphy
leaving.
was there.
Mine's going to high school next year. I'm 4 years away from even thinking about
They
it.
too many votes at the workshop.
You are so bad. Did you vote down his lights?
Yeah. Did anybody have any plans here that said ZBA on it? Had a stamp on it? They were single plans.
I didn't realize how
Yeah,
long
set
that
of
last one was
plans,
gonna be.
the stamp ZBA.
My water in the car.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like that. It was a full set of plans.
Full set of
I didn't have plans.
No, it was this, there were plans for the ZBA.
Which, for what,
Project Sycamore.
So you want these?
No, they were just a small set of plans, you know.
I had the electrical one. How about this one?
No, they were larger than that.
Sorry, I can't help you.
It's okay. There were the plans with showing the substation and the new location.
oh, no. No, I didn't get those. My plan had the original location.
All right, so
Then to show you, but apparently they had to be.
next up is SCAE, PB number 17-09, special permit secret review. So, I guess we're not listening to this. Go ahead, Rob, tell her. You can be the bad guy. If it was Brenner, I would tell him. I don't want to be the bad guy.
Well, I don't know necessarily, but what do you want, why don't we give you an opportunity?
Thank you. We are looking.
That's it, we're not, no, go ahead, I'm not kidding.
Yeah. I know. Okay, so we all kind of know what this is about, but we're looking to get preliminary so we can go to
Can I ask the people in the back to keep it down? We have one more item.
Close the door.
Go ahead, sorry.
We're looking to get preliminary and kind of start moving this forward with the assumption that we are going to take the risk if we don't get hardship exclusion from the hardship exception from the town board.
Yeah.
Just so that once we get that, since that's going to take a couple months to get in front of the town board to get that hardship,
Yeah.
that will already have been done so that the project can continue to move forward and it won't be held up.
No, we're gonna send you up there,
Well-
you gotta get the hardship.
Okay.
We kind of explained that last time you were here.
My-
You have to, we're not giving you a preliminary on it.
Here's what, if I'll
Okay,
just
I'll let Rob
interject.
do it.
You know, Mr. Brenner did send a letter indicating that last time, May 10th was the meeting, and technically the law was not filed until May 11th with the Secretary of State. So theoretically, it could have been heard, perhaps. There's some issues in terms of how it's written, but nevertheless, the law is pretty clear that it can't receive an approval, irrespective of what took place before. However, I did have a discussion with Mr. Brenner earlier this morning, and I know there was a death in his family, so he couldn't be here, and I don't know what his plans are for the next few days, but the board, under these circumstances, the timing of it, and it's certainly not this board's job to rush this through at warp speed. It's certainly Mr. Brenner's job to try to get that done, but logistically, the time frame he sets forth in his letter could still be achieved if they apply for the hardship immediately, because the hardship basically says that the town board must hear it within 30 days. So theoretically, if they apply, if they'd done it 2 weeks ago, but if they do it tomorrow, within 30 days, the town board would hear it. And the necessary parties would weigh in, Rockland County Planning, et cetera. If that were heard at the end of June, or I guess beginning of July, I'm not sure exactly when it would be, there would be in fact time for them to come back to this board. Again, under the circumstances, if it were advertised for final, if the board were so inclined, it could grant the final then, if the hardship is granted by the town board. And if this board doesn't want to grant final in one appearance, it doesn't have to. But, they have been here. There are issues. You could, if they wanted to, say what the plan is. I think the board is pretty clear what the plan is, so that when it comes back, it's ready for final, if the board is so inclined to do that. But in going for the hardship, it can be here. Their intention was, we'll get a preliminary so that they can continue on and then get final at the end of July. Theoretically, that could still happen. This board, I take it back. If the town board grants the waiver, the hardship, and then this board is inclined to grant final, let's say middle or end of July when it's here. If it comes back.
I'm not speaking for everybody, I'm just speaking for myself. I'm not comfortable doing anything with this application until the hardship is heard and granted. And then that's my opinion. Anybody else have anything?
I concur with that.
Mr. Mandel says that, gentlemen?
Concur?
Agreed.
Okay, so the board's saying that that you need to get the hardship before we act on it. So, okay?
Right, that's what's happening, but,
Worst case, if you get the approval, then
Let me ask you a question.
you gotta come in September.
That's
They go to town board and they get the approval from the town board.
The
hardship.
The hardship approval. Can it be listed, because right now it's listed as preliminary.
Yeah, they could change that.
Preliminary. Can it be listed as pre-preliminary, preliminary, final?
Sure.
So
Yes.
theoretically, they could come
Advertise.
in final at that time.
right, that's what I was,
If they got the okay.
right, that's what I was discussing with Mr. Giardello, if there's a necessity to go to the zoning board, and at this point, there is no necessity to go to the zoning board.
You can approve the antenna in the yards. The code allows you to do side and rear yard reductions.
Okay,
So
sounds good.
So, and then, well, an issue may come up with respect to Akabor, but again, we could address that at,
But we can
If
override, we can send them to Akabor with final,
With conditions.
as a condition.
again, if you're inclined. That's all I'm saying in terms of the applicant, it just can't be done tonight, but if they work on the hardship,
Yeah.
and again, of all, I don't know that there's any other applications coming down the pike, but this is one that was here, several times, and so if there were one that might get it, this could be it, but we'll see what the town board wants to do with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody, no, it's not opening, we're not listening to it. so. Yeah, it's,
If it's continued, they request.
When are the meetings in July?
it's not a continuation because we're not listening to it, because they don't have, I'm not even acting on it, because I don't want to do anything that's gonna be,
It was continued before. I mean, do you want to put it on for the 12th? Because theoretically, it could have a hardship or not by then, the same reason we put it on for tonight.
okay, so it'll just come back. I'm just leaving it at that.
And you're okay with putting it on for, advertising it for final?
Yes.
And see what the town board says.
So you put it on for what,
July 12th.
July 12th?
If they get the hardship, then they'll make it.
Okay, so, what's the next business? About the veterans housing?
Yes.
was approved last night.
Okay, you talking to me like my wife?
Remember, you're on.
I don't care, that's fine. She can't watch it, we got DirecTV. No, we got DirecTV.
They had a public hearing last night, they voted on it.
I received it May 12th. I received it after the last meeting.
Oh, I see, okay, I'm sorry. All right, so they already voted, so they didn't hear they don't care about our comments now anyway.
Not at all.
Gotcha. All right, so I need a motion for minutes, I wasn't here, May 10th. What? Mr. Bond, Mr. Sweeney makes a motion, second?
Second.
Mr. Mandel seconds, all in favor? I abstain, I wasn't here.
I abstain also tonight.
Mr. Dell abstains, he wasn't here. Need a motion for goodbye?
Goodbye.
Mr. Warren makes a motion, Mr. Mandel seconds, all in favor? Goodbye.
Hey, I will be